Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarissa Hartwell, and I am with the Division of Financial Assistance for the State Water Resources Control Board, and I will be the moderator for today's funding fair. On behalf of the California Financing Coordinating Committee, I am thrilled to welcome you to our Spring 2026 Funding Fair. We are honored to have such a diverse group of experts, colleagues, and friends with us today. Over the next couple of hours, we will have several agencies presenting their funding opportunities. The goal is for you to leave with knowing there are options available to you for your infrastructure projects. Our agenda today starts with a review of the CFCC website grant portal resources, where you will be able to explore public and private funding opportunities. Accessing these combined state and federal agency resources will serve as your one-stop shop for infrastructure financing. Then we will listen to a series of presentations given by federal agencies, followed by a brief break. We will then reconvene for additional presentations from state and local agencies. Once the final presentation concludes, you will then be able to enter the breakout rooms. The breakout rooms offer the perfect opportunity to speak with program staff directly. To keep things moving, we won't be doing live Q&A after each presentation. Please drop any general questions in the chat for the presenter to answer there. For community-specific questions, please hold those for the breakout rooms where you can discuss them in detail. To find out who is joining us today, I'm going to launch a quick poll right here in the meeting. If your answer falls under Other, please drop the specific details into the chat so everyone knows. I will stop sharing and launch the poll. I hope everyone can see the poll.
Yes.
Okay, great. Today we have tribe members here. I'm so glad that there's an organization here with tribes because we do have some great information for you. And we have some who are representing underserved communities. We also have great funding programs to assist you. My favorite is question 8 because normally Northern California wins out, but right now Southern California is beating Northern California. That's just great. I love it.
We don't see the poll results.
Oh, I'm reading it. Yeah, as they come through after it, just to give you some highlights. I'll share later. There are a few more people who are in the waiting room, so I'll let the poll keep the poll running a little longer so that those individuals have the opportunity to complete it as well. I was just giving you highlights of it so that, we don't have just a quiet room right now. Another great information is there's a lot of people, this is their first time, and that's always encouraging to see. I'll give it another 60 seconds because I see people are still entering the waiting room. For those who are just have entered into the meeting, we're taking a brief poll to find out who is joining us today. So if you can quickly go through the 8 questions, we would be greatly appreciated because we always want to hear comments from our attendees at the for our funding fairs. I see there is a question about the slides. Yes, will be shared. And they are viewable on the CFC website, which we will have a brief demonstration of those of the website later on in this presentation. Well, okay, I don't see any more individuals answering the question, so I will go ahead and close well, some are still coming in. Okay, I give it one more 60 seconds and then I'll close the poll or end the poll so that we can continue with the funding fair. I thank everyone who participated in the poll, and now I'll end the poll and continue with the funding fair. Uh, Again, I thank everyone who participated in the poll, and I greatly appreciate it. So, to access the agenda, the handbook, and today's presentations, and to join the CFCC mailing list, they all are available at the CFCC website at www.cfcc.ca.gov. Unfortunately, we cannot put links in the chat, so there is the QR code will be in the chat, and here's the QR code here on the screen where you can access the website, and on the website you can get to the agenda, and also you on the screen is the QR code for the mailing list where you can join our mailing list so that you can get further information about upcoming funding fairs or new information about infrastructure projects. We will now begin the presentations. Please note as each presenter finishes, the contact details for the next speaker will be shared directly in the chat. So be sure to keep an eye out for those updates. Right now, we'll have a presentation of how to maneuver and navigate the website. So I'll stop sharing my screen right now and let Gabriel Edwards from DWR share how to navigate the CFCC website and where you can find great information about infrastructure projects funding. All
Uh,
yours, Gabe.
Thank you, Sarasa. Appreciate it. Good morning, all. Thanks for joining. Let's see, a couple housekeeping things. I'm going to enter into the chat right now a QR code for the CFCC website. It's the same thing that Sarasa was just sharing a couple slides ago. As mentioned, a couple of caveats for today. For security purposes, we cannot copy or open links or download the Zoom chat. So apologies for that. But what I want to let everyone know is all the resources that we discussed today, they're either available on the CFCC website, like they're hosted there by us, or they're linked on the CFCC website. As folks join throughout the day, I'm going to continue to post this information so that people can access it and go find it later. The CFCC website is www.cfcc.ca.gov. And it's got links to a bunch of different information. Before I screen share and jump into it, I'm also going to share in the chat a PDF document. If you're on a computer, you should be able to download this. 1 second. Okay. If you download this PDF document that I just shared, it also has links to the CFCC website and some direct links to some of those other resources. So let's jump into it and share my screen. This is what the CFCC website looks like. There's a lot of different resources here. There's links to the state and federal grants portals. There's upcoming funding fair and registration information. There's funding fair agendas, contact information, and also funding fair video recordings. So the fair today and the one we had a couple weeks ago are recorded. We'll post those within a couple weeks on the CFCC website. There's also copies of all the slide presentations from the presenters today. The other thing I was going to mention is after this funding fair, we're going to send you all an email. That email will also include links to the CFC website and all of these resources. And we'll send you a post-funding fair survey about your experience today as well. That's probably going to go out early next week. It'll take us a few days to collect all the people who attended today, all your contact information, and to put that together and email it out. So look for that early next week. So a couple things I just want to walk you through here. This is what the homepage of the CFCC website looks like. On this page, there's a couple important things I'm going to highlight. The first is this box on the left, Grant Portal Resources. This has links to the California Grants Portal and the Federal Grants Portal. I'm going to touch on the California Grants Portal in a second, and then David White from Reclamation is going to talk about the Federal Grants Portal after that. For the California Grants Portal and the Federal Grants Portal, there's also 2 recorded presentations here. These are from previous funding fairs. They go into a little bit more detail, especially for the California Grants Portal. I'm not going to go fully in depth there. I just want to show it and let people know about the resource. But if you're curious, want more information, take a look at this recorded presentation. It's from Shivani at the California State Library, who operates the California Grants Portal. And she goes into more detail about how to use that service, how to search for funding, all that kind of stuff. So if you take a look at this today and you want more information, I highly recommend checking out these recorded presentations because they just go into a bit more depth. The other thing is this middle box talks about upcoming CFCC funding fairs. This is our last spring funding fair, June 3rd, today. But in the future, when we have fall funding fairs, or next year, we have another series of spring funding fairs, we put the dates here, we put registration links. So this is where you can find information about that to register and attend upcoming funding fairs. And then on the right, there's a quick links box here. 2 important pieces in this space. The first is this funding inquiry form. The funding inquiry form is a way for finding funding from CFCC agencies if you have a particular project in mind that you're seeking funding for. So this is what it looks like. There's a PDF version and a Word version. It's pretty straightforward. You fill this out with information about your project, information about your yourself, contact information, that kind of stuff. And then you email it to ibank@ibank.ca.gov. What iBank does is they take this funding form, they distribute it to all the CFCC agencies, and we review your particular project and see if we have funding that's applicable. So this is a good resource if you're not sure where to look for funding, but you have a project in mind that you're seeking funding for. Fill out this form, email it to ibank@ibank.ca.gov. So that's the funding inquiry form. The second is the CFCC mailing list. So this mailing list is operated by the State Water Resources Control Board. You can sign up for it here. This mailing list just distributes information about these funding fairs. So if you're curious about future funding fairs, you want to get information about when they're being held and how to register and all that kind of stuff, you can register for this mailing list here, and we'll send out information about that in the future. So that's the main pieces on this homepage. There's other resources down below. For today, the main relevant thing is our June 3rd agenda for the funding fairs here. If you open the agenda for funding fairs, it will obviously talk about which agencies are presenting. It also has contact information for each of the presenters. So you can find that here after the funding fair. If you're curious, if you remember a presentation, but you want to get in touch with someone, feel free to take a look at this and grab their email contact information here. So that's on the agenda. It's a little bit further down on the homepage. And then the second piece that I want to cover is this funding fairs tab up at the top. So if you click funding fairs, there's two main pieces of information here that I'm going to highlight. The first is the Spring 2026 Funding Fair Handbook. The CFCC Handbook is a really great resource for just finding information about all the funding programs that people are talking about today and presenting on. So it's a large PDF document that looks like this. It has some information about the California Financing Coordinating Committee, background information, and then it has a list of all the agencies with funding that are part of the CFCC that are presenting today. So you can take a look at the agencies. They're all hyperlinks. You can click to it. So for example, for the California State Water Resources Control Board, there's background information about the agency, generally like what they fund, what they do. There's website links, general contact information, social media, if you want to get in touch. And then the important thing is for each agency in the handbook, there's a large table that has each funding program from that agency. And so you can see this covers stuff like has the funding program name and a link to the program website, a QR code also that will take you to that same website. There's a brief blurb about the funding purpose, like what that particular funding program covers, eligible applicant types, any notes or special conditions about that funding, any deadlines that are important to keep in mind for applying for funding, and then contact info for that specific funding program. So it has that for each of the agencies listed in the handbook. And if you're interested in finding more information or just getting in touch directly with the program, this is a great way to do that because this contact information is for the specific programs that are identified. So that's under this funding fair tabs on the CFCC website. The other thing, as you can see, are copies of all the slide presentations that people will be giving today. So if you want to go back and find copies of these slide presentations, we're not going to share them via the chat, but you can go to the CFCC website and download them from here. Cool. And again, as a reminder, one thing that we'll do after this in a few days, we're going to email out a copy of this information, links to all these resources, links to the CFCC website. So if you're attending today, you will get an email, as I mentioned, that will likely be early next week when we send that out. If there's any questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out and we can help answer any questions. So the next thing, just moving right along, I'm going to jump into is a very brief overview of this California Grants Portal. The California Grants Portal, if you haven't seen it before, it looks like this. It's www.grants.ca.gov. It's managed by the California State Library, and this is a resource for finding open grant programs from California state agencies. So it's a single website. It's a centralized location to find state grant opportunities. This resource includes all state grants that are offered on a competitive or first come, first served basis. And that includes loans and federal assistance funds. It's pretty intuitive, I think, to navigate. You can select what kind of applicant type you are. You can select grant categories that you're looking for, and it will give you a list of opportunities that match those criteria. You can look for active grants or forecasted grants. There's a lot of great filtering tools here. I highly recommend it if you're looking for funding from state agencies. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail today about how to search and use the site, but on the CFCC website, there's a basic about 15-minute introductory presentation that was given by Shivani from the California State Library. It's linked here. It's from a previous funding fair. If you haven't seen that site before and you're curious how it works, I highly recommend viewing that presentation. And if you have questions, you can always contact the State Library. There's contact information in the top right on the California Grants Portal. So that's it from intro for me today. I'll continue sharing these resources via the chat as we go along. And yeah, thank you all for joining. And I look forward to speaking with you later about some Department of Water Resources funding opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great tool as mentioned in the chat. It's a wonderful tool. I highly suggest you use it if you're looking for funding opportunities, both grants, principal forgiveness, and loans, low interest loans. So our first speaker today will be David White. He's with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, and he's going to let you know about what information is available via the U.S. Via the federal government, and give you a brief overview of the grants.gov, which was mentioned in Gabe's navigation of the CFCC website. So go ahead. It's for you, David.
Thank you very much, Sarasa. Good morning, everyone. My name is David White. I work for the United States Department of the Interior Bureau of Reclamation. My office is here in Sacramento. Contact information is available. Feel free to contact me after this presentation and this funding fair if you ever have any questions. This morning, I'm going to give two short presentations. The first one is trying to find federal funding for your non-federal project using grants.gov. The second one will be for water conservation funding here in the Central Valley and beyond. So here we go, grants.gov. My slides are available, and so I'm just going to kind of talk around the slides. So it's important for you to understand each federal funding agency. It's important for you to know how to search and apply for funds. And it's also important for you to know some tips on how to make your application more successful. Each agency has its own unique mission and its own opportunities available to it. When you have a project that you want to seek federal funding for, you need to be aware of how to kind of tailor your application to reflect the mission of that particular organization. Interior is going to have a different mission and a different focus than maybe USDA or HUD or something like that. So you have a great project out there, but it's important to be able to show each federal agency how your project can help them realize their goals and priorities. Grants.gov is used by almost every federal agency for almost every federal funding opportunity. It's a very useful database, in part because it keeps previous funding opportunities available so that you can see the kind of questions that may be asked in the future and how you can be best responsive to them. This is the classic grants.gov, and we're going to go through the new simpler version, but it's the same information, the same concept. There's lots of resources out there to help you understand how to use grants.gov and how to get notifications and how to search. You can search by grants that are currently open. Those are posted. Ones that have recently been closed. Ones that have been closed for a while, those are archived, and ones that agencies think will be coming down the pike pretty soon. And those are the forecasted ones. You can also search by the kind of instrument you're looking for, a cooperative agreement or a grant, the kind of whether or not your particular agency or entity is eligible. There's all sorts of ways to search. Now, can you search by geographic location? As far as I know, you cannot. So unfortunately, you cannot search for federal funding opportunities limited to Yolo County or the state of California. Inside each application is an online application package. You're welcome to download it, print it out, fill it out, mail it in, but most people do the work online. That also helps when you apply, when you're ready to submit, that it won't get lost in the mail. Each notice of funding opportunity, a NOFO, begins with a synopsis that gives you the quick and dirty guide to what this particular funding opportunity is about. And inside, you will find criteria specific for that funding opportunity. It's important to answer the questions. Once you have put together a good application package, you can submit it. And there's lots of information on how to submit. And be sure to save your confirmation just in case there's a glitch in the system. There are lots of tips. The most important ones are to thoroughly read the application, the NOFO, ask any questions, fill out those standard forms, those SFs first. Try to tell a good story about your project because the application will be reviewed solely based upon the information you provide. We're not allowed to go research, so it's limited to the four corners of your document. Try to tell a compelling story about your project of why it is interesting. And your project will be evaluated based upon the merits that we find within the application. A good tip is that if we ask a yes or no question, begin with a yes or no answer, and then you may elaborate. If we put a formula in there that we want all applicants to use, please use that formula. If you feel like a different formula would be more applicable to your project, please use our formula first, then use yours and explain why you feel like it tells a better story. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing and then we're going to keep going. So hold on for just one moment. Now, let's say you actually want to go through with this. So let's see if we can do this right. And I'm going to do something new here. So just hold on one moment, please. We're going to share this screen and I'm going to go, hopefully you can see grants.gov right here in front of me.
Yes, we do.
Thank you. This is the new website. So let's say you wanted to search, you would click here on search and it's going to take you to this simpler grants.gov. You can log in and go back to the classic, which is shown in my slides. You can stay here with the simpler one. All sorts of different filters are over here. So many different, let's get rid of that right there. All sorts of different. You can search by agency. You can search by the closing date, whether cost sharing is applicable. That means, do you have to put any money into it? A non-federal cost match. So you can do all that, or you can just come up here and type in a word, like let's say SCADA. Let's see if anything comes up. Nope, nothing came up. That's too specific. So we can type in something like WaterSmart, which we're about to talk about. And there it is. Here are all these current agreements that are available. And then you can open up each one and find out more about it. So that's using grants.gov. And I'm going to stop the share. And then we're going to talk about water conservation. So just one moment, please. All right, there we go. We're going to share again. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is David White. I'm with the United States Department of the Interior Bureau of Reclamation based here in Sacramento, California. This morning, I'm going to talk about water conservation funding for projects here in the Central Valley and beyond. Well, actually, for all of reclamation. Okay, reclamation operates in the 17 West-wide states. We're divided into different regions. Each region has its own points of contact. When in doubt, no matter where your project is located, you're welcome to start with me. If I can't answer your question, I'll find you someone who can. We have lots of folks who are well qualified to help you through the application process. There are some things that we can talk about, some things we can't, because we don't want to give anyone an unfair competitive advantage. But we're happy to help talk you through as much as we can so that you can put together a very strong application. Lots of funding is available through reclamation, both here in the California Great Basin region and reclamation wide, which is our Water Smart program. Inside the slides, inside the handouts, is a funding update for each of these programs with a point of contact, who the eligible applicants are, and whether or not there is a federal and non-federal cost share. If you have any questions about these, you're welcome to contact me or these points of contact that are listed there. As we've talked about before, there's some, usually there is a non-federal cost share, sometimes 25%, sometimes 50% of the total project costs. There are limitations on who is eligible. The awards are competitive and they're posted to grants.gov. Here's some more information about some of the different programs out there. Application advice is similar to what we talked about before, about making sure you understand what the application is or what the NOFO is asking you about. If you have any questions, each NOFO has a point of contact, usually someone in our financial assistance division who can answer your question. Lots of information out there that you can access. If you have any questions, I will be available in the break room, and then I will also be available offline and in the future. So thank you very much, and I look forward to helping y'all in the future.
Thank you, David. That was very interesting, and the new look looks good. I like the new look of the federal's grant, the the new portal. Our
Thank you.
next our next speaker is Brooklyn James. She is with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Brownfields. And I noticed in the chat that you said it's hard for you to hear. The volume is all the way up on my end. You might want to look at your end to see if your volume is up. And a note to the speakers, please speak into your microphone just in case you're not using a headset and you're using the speakers from your computer. Make sure you're facing the computer and not turning away from the computer because that takes away the volume of your voice as well. So go ahead, Brooklyn's for you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good to see you here. My name's Brooklyn James. I'm from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Brownfields and Land Revitalization Program. I'm excited to talk to you about our program and what we have to offer. So, to start, I wanted to share a little bit about what a brownfield is. So, this is a piece of land that somebody wants to reuse or build on, but it might be polluted from past uses. Here's a bunch of typical brownfield sites you might see in your community. And brownfields are great opportunities to reuse these old sites into something that's a community benefit. Like this abandoned gas station that was turned into, oh wait, no, that's not the abandoned gas station. Ignore that. These old greenhouses that were turned into affordable housing. This is an old shoreline in San Francisco that's being reused into a park. And here's the old gas station that was turned into the EV charging station and welcome center. So, land revitalization is really about transforming formerly underutilized, contaminated, or even possibly contaminated land into community assets like affordable housing, mixed-use development, parks, and green space. So the first program I wanted to talk about is my favorite one. It's the Targeted Brownfields Assessment Program. And this is not a grant, but it's free technical assistance. And EPA will send a contractor out to a potential brownfield site on behalf of an eligible entity to perform environmental site assessments and create a report that has your different cleanup options with the cost estimates and feasibility of each of those. And then they'll create a little fact sheet about all the work they did on that site. There's a QR code if you want to take a look at what that application looks like. It's just an online form. It's open year round. It's non-competitive. And here is kind of an overview of the different programs that we offer under the Brownfields team. And here are the eligible entities. So that includes states, tribes, local units of government like cities, counties, and regional governmental entities like COGS, and then also nonprofit 501c3. So in the green circles are the grants that we are offering this year. I also added this slide in a little bit last minute because this information came out very recently, but these are the estimated number of awards and the award amounts per grant. So if you've seen our grants in the past, you might notice that these amounts are quite different this year. Unfortunately, we had a large cut in our funding, so we're not able to offer as many awards or at as high amounts, but this is what we plan to award nationally. And there is now a 20% cost share for our cleanup and revolving loan fund grants, and I'll get into what those are in a second. So first are our assessment grants. We have a community-wide assessment grant, a community-wide assessment grant for states and tribes. That's a little bit higher dollar amount. And our assessment coalition grants, which is a group of entities that would apply together to perform any of these activities, which include Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental site assessments, creating an inventory of brownfields from your community, doing reuse and cleanup planning, and community engagement and outreach. So some of those planning activities could be market studies, infrastructure evaluations, conceptual site designs, envisioning of the reuse, resource road mapping. And this grant is particularly ideal for those who really want to understand what their sites, what's going on at their sites in their community and set priorities for redevelopment. Then, like I mentioned, we are having our brownfields cleanup grants available again this year, and these ones can fund the actual remediation of the hazardous substances that you might find at a brownfield site based on your assessments. So, in order to be eligible, you have to be the owner of the site when you apply, and you have to have a completed phase 2 environmental site assessment and an analysis of brownfields cleanup alternatives, which is that cleanup cost comparison report that I mentioned our contractors can do for free under the other program. And additionally to the remediation you can do under this grant, you could do cleanup planning, again, engagement with the community. It can cover voluntary oversight fees if you're working with the Water Board or DTSC. And these grants are best suited for communities that have a property that's ready for the anticipated reuse, but the contamination is the last kind of step in the way, getting it ready for development. We also have our multi-purpose grants, which we actually aren't offering this year, but it is a combination of the activities you can do under the assessment and the cleanup grants. We tend to alternate between the multi-purpose and the revolving loan fund. So we are offering the RLF grant this year, and it is funding to capitalize a revolving loan fund program. So you get an initial grant where you can provide loans and which could be no interest or low interest loans and sub grants to other entities to perform site cleanups in a particular target area. And these grants are ideal for communities that have the intention of creating an ongoing brownfields cleanup program. So once you get some of the funding back from the loans, you would revolve that into new projects and continue on a cycle. And so EPA has support for land revitalization at all stages, all the way up until the actual redevelopment. So from site identification to assessment, planning, and cleanup. All right, so that brings me to the end of my presentation. Here's a QR code if you're interested in signing up for our mailing list to get more information about when these grants are coming out and things like that. I'll also put a screenshot of this QR code in the chat, and I'll be in the breakout rooms if anybody wants to discuss potential projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do like this program to see how you can clean up one area and make it look better to another area. That is such a wonderful program. Our next speaker is Serena Ramis. She is from the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Hi, everybody. Sarissa, can you let me know if you can see the screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Awesome. All right. Well, hi, everyone. I took a quick look and some names look familiar. So super excited about that. And there's a lot of new ones as well. I'm Serena Ramos. I'm a community program specialist with the USDA Rural Development, and I will be presenting for the Community Facilities Program today. Let's see. There we go. A little bit about community facilities, what we can offer, what we have done in the past, our projects for hospitals, health clinics, schools, daycares, firehouses, first response vehicles, or first responder vehicles rather, and equipment, community centers, and more. A little overview is we do offer direct loans, loan guarantees, grants to develop or improve essential public services and facilities in communities of 20,000 or less for direct loans and grants, and 50,000 or less for guarantee loans, and eligible applicants are public bodies, nonprofits, federally recognized tribes. A little overview of our loan program is currently we have an interest rate at 4.75%. It is a fixed rate at the time of loan approval. That interest rate will be different come next month, but right now we are at that 4.75. We do have a 35-year term or useful life of the project security. We do look at adequate security and collateral, of course, repayment ability and feasibility. And one thing is that borrowers or applicants must be unable to obtain credit from local commercial credit lenders. Here is a example of a loan we did for the Newcastle Fire Protection District. It was a new station, and the project total in cost was 4.75 million. The USDA Community Facilities loan was 3.78 million, and the applicant came in with a contribution of 978,000. It was funded in 2021 and completed in 2022. Another loan project would be for the city of Woodlake. It was a new community center. The project cost in total was 3.33 million. The USDA Community Facilities loan was 3 million, and the applicant came in with a contribution of 335,000. It was funded in 2016 and completed in 2018. And this building itself was 12,500 square feet, and it is a very nice facility. I've toured it myself. A little of our grant overview. Again, applicants who are able to apply for these are public bodies, special districts, nonprofit, corporations, federally recognized tribes, and usually it's for, of course, it's for a population of 20,000 or less. Applications are accepted all year round, and grants are usually a maximum of $50,000. Because of that small amount, we do usually look at equipment for healthcare, police, fire, public buildings, transportation, and sometimes infrastructure. This is a list of projects we have done in the past, and I do know we should probably update this, but these are just kind of an overview of the projects that we have done. If you have any questions, I know it was a fast presentation, but we kind of might want to make sure everybody has a chance to advocate for their programs. So if you have any specific questions, you're more than welcome to contact me. This is a little bit of my contact information, but I will also be in the breakout room a little bit later if you have any specific questions. And thank you so much.
Thank you. And I do appreciate that each speaker is emphasizing and encouraging to enter the breakout rooms and ask more questions about their program and get more answers if you have such questions. Well, our next speaker is Tanya Galantine. She is also from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, but from a different part of it.
Hello, my name is Tanya Galantine. I'm a community program specialist with the U.S. Department of Agriculture for Rural Development. I work from the Modesto, California office, and today I will be presenting basic information about 6 of our water and environmental program loans and grants. We call that our WEP program, for Water Environmental Program. Okay, so the first one would be our Water and Waste Disposal Loan and Grant Program. Eligible applicants would include public bodies, nonprofits, corporations, and federally recognized tribes.
We don't see your presentation anymore.
You don't?
No,
Can you see that?
not yet.
Let me stop sharing and reshare.
Okay. We are getting there. We see.
Now, how's that?
it is blank white. Am I the only one
It
seeing it?
is.
Let me make sure I'm the only one not. Is anyone else having
You're right,
seen?
Sarissa. Same
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Okay, let me go back.
Okay.
Or I could just talk. It's up to everybody else if we want to continue.
No, we want to see your pictures. Pictures paints 1,000
You'll
words.
have to forgive
It
us. We're
worked
used to doing
three
teams.
times. It worked 3 times this morning. So, okay, let's try it again. What do you see now?
The same white screen.
Yeah, when I go to share, it has a window or Microsoft Edge. And I can click on, let's see.
Is your presentation open so you can see actual presentation so you can click on?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Let's try it again.
Yeah, I know it worked this morning, so I know it's not like it's
Yeah.
not.
Okay, yeah, what I see is I see the screen too, and then I also have I have 2 screens. I'm going to try this one. Okay. How about
There,
that?
There you
we
go.
see it now. We got it now, and
Do we
it's
have a
full.
do we have a full screen?
Yeah, we have a full screen.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to be presenting basic information about 6 of our water environmental program loans and grants. That's our WET program, and these are the 6 different programs that I'm going to be talking about. Did that change to a new screen?
Yep.
Okay, so the first one is our water and waste disposal loan and grant program. Eligible applicants include public bodies, nonprofits, corporations, and federally recognized tribes. They would require a population of 10,000 or less. Comprehensive funding would include construction, engineering fees, land, legal fees, and environmental costs. Loans can be combined with grants to keep the user costs reasonable. We have interest rates are established per quarter. So we're currently in the second quarter. Our rates are between 2.875 and 4.75%. Interest rates are based on the state non-metropolitan median household income. The terms can be up to 40 years. We have a 3-rate tier structure. The market rate, you can see, is 4.75, and it would be for communities or your project service area that would be above 100% of the state non-metropolitan median household income. So your service area would, their median household income would be above 100%. For the intermediate rate, 3.75 currently, would be between 80% and 100% of the state non-metropolitan household income. And the poverty rate would be 2.875, which would be below 80% of the state non-metropolitan household, median household income. And you notice on the poverty rate, there must also, the project must also correct a serious health or safety violation. Grant eligibility for up to 45% grant. The service area has a median household income between $64,438, which is 80% of the state non-metropolitan median household income, up to the 100% of the state non-metropolitan median household income. Say that 3 times fast. Up to 75% grant service areas have a median household income below $64,436, which is 80% of the state non-metropolitan median household income. And also the project is needed to alleviate a health or sanitary problem. Number 2 would be our Emergency Community Water Assistance Grant, which is our ECWAG. It would assist rural communities that have experienced a significant decline in quantity or quality of water directly caused by emergency incidents. Emergency incidents can include drought, earthquake, flood, landslides. Grant may cover up to 100% of costs up to $1 million. Funds can be used to develop new water sources for water treatment. Number 3 is our Colonia grants. They must be located within 150 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. All colonias in California are located in Imperial, San Diego, or Southern Riverside counties. $4 million is available for California. Projects that correct serious health or sanitary problems associated with drinking water and waste disposal systems. Number 4 is our Native American 306C grant. This would be for projects that correct serious health or sanitary problems associated with drinking water and waste disposal systems. The per capita income must be equal to or less than $26,347, and the unemployment rate must be no less than 4.75. There's $4 million maximum per project in the fiscal year 2026, with approximately $22 million nationwide that was available in the fiscal year 2026. Our search grant. The eligible area for search grant are rural areas with a population of 2,500 or less. They have a median household income below $64,436, which is 80% of the state non-metropolitan median household income. A maximum of $30,000 grant, and it could be used to pay pre-development planning costs to support applications for WEP funding. Number 6 would be our pre-development planning grant. The eligible area, rural areas with a population of 10,000 or less, have a median household income below 80% of the state non-metropolitan median household income. There's a maximum of $60,000 grant to pay for pre-development planning costs that would support the application for WEP funding. It also requires that at least 25% of the project costs come from the applicant or a third-party source. In-kind contributions are not allowed. The application process to apply for funding, it's important to build community support. You would have an initial meeting with USDA. We require a preliminary engineering report, which is the PER, an environmental report, it's the NEPA process. You would have a complete application, a letter of conditions would be authorized and accepted. We would obligate the funding. Disbursement of funds would be after the loan grant close or the start of construction. We have an online application intake system for WEP, and it's called RD Apply. It provides convenience. It has a identity security, so all users would be required to obtain their eAuth identification. It's a faster application process. You can authorize other persons to help you with that application process. It's to reduce paper consumption, and the applicant has the official with the signature authority. We have a link here for the RD Apply. It'll be supplied in the resources at the I believe you're going to be sending them out in the next couple of days. Here are a couple of examples of the types of projects that could be funded with our WEP program. This was Amador Water Agency. You can see their storage tanks, their water storage tanks. This is up in the Pioneer area in the Sierras. You can see that the WEP funding, over $6 million in WEP funding. This was a combination loan and grant, and it was used to increase the capacity of water storage. Another example is a wastewater treatment plant in Rio Alto. Also the plant in a constructed wetlands, and this project had USDA WEP loan and grant combination of over $5 million. And you can see there was also additional funding partners. The total project cost was over $7 million. Another is the Los Osos Water Waste Treatment Plant, the County of San Luis Obispo. The total project cost was it's close to $190 million. The final slide has contact information for our state level staff. You also will have my email. And please join us in the breakout rooms. We will be glad to answer any questions you may have. Thank you, and I will stop sharing.
Thank you so much for sharing that information with us. Our last federal agency speaker is Jessica Luty. She's with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and this is her first time speaking, so everyone give her a great hand. And after this, we'll have a brief break before we have the presentations from the state and local agencies.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Please just, I don't know, shout out if you can't hear me. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that we're in good shape. It's great to be here. I work with the San Francisco District Office of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, but we have 3 districts across California and, of course, like across the United States. All right. So, whoops, let me make this a full screen so that it's a little bit better for you. Sorry about that. Here we go. Okay. So you can think about all things water for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We plan, design, and build water resources projects. We also have a regulatory mission under the Clean Water Act, but I'm not going to get into that today because we don't build anything under that. Congress authorizes most of what we do directly, especially when we move dirt or build things. Our primary missions are illustrated in this graphic my colleague drew. On the left, flood risk management, all things related to before, during, and after a flood. That's how we think about flood risk management. Our other primary mission areas are aquatic ecosystem restoration, so riverine and wetland restoration, and then also navigation. And what navigation translates to is usually dredging or like expanding ports or things like that. And I'll start by saying we're not a grant program, so we're a little different than everybody else in this sense. We perform work that's requested either by Congress, which you would ask Congress for, or by you directly. And then we are the ones who do the work. I'll explain how this all works. So we have kind of 2 different types of ways we can support. I'll start with technical assistance and then construction. So I'm going to go down the left side first. So the basics. If you think of us like an architecture and engineering firm or like a special hydrology consulting company, for example, we can do flood or floodplain related studies or technical analyses to meet your needs. You would determine the scope of work, or we could help you determine the scope of work if you don't know exactly what you need yet. We would then detail and we cost it out. Then we request the money from headquarters. We perform the work if we get the money. You review our draft products, to make sure it aligns with what you need and your goals. And that's kind of it. There's no administrative requirements on your end, except that you are an active and willing partner, so that, when we're preparing drafts or need a little information from you, that you're available to support us. And related to this, if a project is about $200,000 or less, then we pay 100% of it, which is pretty amazing. If it's more expensive than that, USACE can still support it, but it's either 50-50 cost shared, or if you're a federally recognized tribal nation, there is a cost share waiver that can sometimes it changes every year, but it may be up to $600,000 right now. So that first chunk of work would be no cost. This is just a smattering of examples of the types of work we can do related to flooding and floodplains, emergency planning, watershed planning, water quality testing, cultural resources protection, flood alerts and flood risk communication, training, capacity building, you name it. Other types of things we can do, potentially at 100% federal costs, Levee inspections, there's an asterisk there. It's like if your levees aren't already part of the National Levee Database, or if your levees weren't built by the Army Corps, for example, then we could do something like this. We can also help you with interagency coordination and help you find the right entities in the flood risk nexus. We can also help you with sort of flood and levee management planning generally. Sometimes we have new districts come to us and say, we don't know where to start. We can help with that. We can help with hazard mitigation planning or mapping support. Usually that focus area is in the flood section of hazard mitigation, but we may also be able to support some other pieces. This one is much longer, but basically this slide is all about if you want to build something, so construction. The moment you want to move some dirt, both the cost share requirements go up, and so does the bureaucracy. So we can build infrastructure to address your concerns. And then as it goes through our process with lots of rules and regulations and strict criteria, we can then pick up 50% of the construction cost. There is a cost share waiver on this for federally recognized tribes. And yeah, so in thinking about us like a construction company, we have to follow a rigorous set of rules, most of which are grounded in law. It is a large administrative burden on your end where you are like an active part of the project. And yeah, if you're a tribe and your project is under $26 million, we may just be able to get we may be able to just get headquarters approval. If you are not a federally recognized tribe, or if you are, but it's over $26 million, then we would need a congressional authorization and an appropriation. And also, if we ever build something, a key requirement is that the Army Corps doesn't manage it after we build it. We build it and we give it to you, and you promise to operate it and maintain it in perpetuity. And you also promise to you help acquire the land, because the Army Corps doesn't like to use things like eminent domain to take land from other people. So the way that you initiate either one of these is you come to the breakout session, but also, if you have a question about any of these and wondering if your problem or challenge or need would fit, contact us, contact me. And I have counterparts all over the US, but also all over California. So if I'm not your person, I'll get you in touch with the right person. We would then meet with you, most likely virtually, but sometimes we do site visits to get some details and learn a little bit more about like what your needs are and what you want. Then we would work with you to help figure out the best program that we have, also known as an authority. Whoops, that's my reminder that I'm now over time. The program, we'll figure out the right program and we'll help you navigate the process. We can discuss the details, the cost share, etc. if there is one. If you decide to proceed, you'll give us a letter of interest. It's pretty straightforward. We'll give you a template. Then, we would be preparing the scope of work with your inputs and assessing a budget. And if this is a technical assistance request or a small construction project, then we should be able to do this request just to headquarters. And then it gets funding, and then we say, hey, we're ready to initiate the study. Very low bureaucracy there. If this is a large construction project, you would need to request authorization from Congress, which is like permission, and appropriations from Congress as well. So Congress has to tell the Army Corps to study your project, and then they have to give us money to do it. But nonetheless, the first step in all of it is to talk with us, and we can help you go to the next place. I'm borrowing slides from a presentation I gave last week that was focused on tribal Alaska Native villages, which is why I have my Alaska contact in there. So you can ignore that one and just reach out to me directly. And thank you very much for having us here.
Thank you for being available to speak today about the information that you have to help those here in California. So now that was our last person for the federal agency presentation. Right now, we're going to have a small break and about a 10-minute break. So we'll be back around 10:16 because my clock on my computer says 10:06. So we'll return at 10:16 and we'll start with the state presentations at that point. So see you in 10 minutes. If you're in here, earshot, you have about 60 seconds. My computer says it's 10:15 and we're going to resume at 10:16. So you have, just under a minute. Hello, everyone. It is 10:16, so we're going to begin shortly. I will give you, a few more seconds to get back to your desk or at wherever you're at this moment. Our next speaker will be the agency is the Department of Water Resources, and it'd be Gabriel Edwards. He gave us previously a presentation on how to navigate the website, so now he's going to let you know about the information available through the Department of Water Resources.
Hello, all, and welcome back. Thanks for joining. Okay. So, yeah, let's jump into it. As Sarasa mentioned, thanks for the introduction, Sarasa. My name is Gabriel Edwards. I am from the Department of Water Resources. Today, I'm going to give you a brief overview, a very brief overview of DWR's funding resources and a little bit of information about our upcoming Prop 4 funding programs. So let's jump into it. The first thing I want to touch on is just how to find info on DWR funding. I covered briefly the California Grants Portal earlier this morning. You can always check the California Grants Portal. As I mentioned earlier, I personally find the portal helpful for finding active grant programs since there's lots of helpful filtering options. You can also search for forecasted funding opportunities as well. Yeah, so I highly recommend that. The unfortunate news is that right now, DWR does not have any active funding programs or active solicitations. So if you go to the California Grants Portal today and you filter for DWR, you will see that there are no active grants. So today, what I'm going to be talking about are some of our upcoming grant programs and our Proposition 4 resources. So the first thing and the best resource for finding up-to-date information on DWR funding programs is our grants and loans website. There's a QR code here that will take you to that site. This website acts as a central hub for DWR grant programs. And since our programs are always subject to change and we have all this Proposition 4 funding that's on the horizon, I highly recommend checking for updates here. This page lists all programs that are currently accepting new applications under the open solicitation section. Again, right now, there are no programs that are currently accepting solicitations, so there's nothing listed there. There's a new Proposition 4 funding section that lists the upcoming programs that are administering Prop 4 funds. And then there are also links to individual program websites, as well as other helpful information like best practices, tips for applying to grant programs, DWR public notices, and other resources. Program guidelines are where you can find program websites are where you can find program guidelines. And those guidelines include eligibility information. The websites have instructions on how to apply and all that type of stuff for each individual program. So generally, our grant applicants must be public or local agencies, tribal governments, or nonprofits. Private individuals and landowners are not typically eligible for DWR grant programs. There are a few exceptions. I'm going to talk about one later today, but just wanted to get that out there to let you all know. If you're interested in a funding program, check the program guidelines to confirm eligibility, and you can always contact the program directly to confirm as well. And so, yeah, overall, the Grants and Loans website is the best place to get a high-level overview of what grant funding is currently available from DWR and what is coming up, especially for Prop 4. And then speaking of Prop 4, I just want to quickly touch on some of those resources that you can find on our website. So there's a list of programs that are administering Prop 4 funding, shown in this picture here on the right. This list includes a brief description of the program purpose, the total amount of Prop 4 funding for each program that will be available, and a link to the individual program websites. Please note, this isn't a complete list of DWR Prop 4 programs. There's a lot of updates, a lot of changes that are coming. So this list will be updated as more information becomes available and new solicitations are developed and released. So I want to quickly highlight a couple of our Prop 4 programs that are currently preparing for solicitations. The first one here is the Dam Safety and Climate Resilience Local Assistance Program. This provides funding for repairs, rehab, enhancement, and safety projects at state dams that were in service prior to January 1st, 2023. This program has released a draft of their guidelines and a draft proposal solicitation package for a 45-day public comment period. This comment period ends on June 11th. And they're asking for comments to be submitted to dscr@water.ca.gov, or you can also submit hard copy comments via mail as well. The next program I want to talk about is the Urban Streams Restoration Program. They are currently accepting comments on their combined draft guidelines and proposal solicitation package. This program funds projects to restore streams that were affected by urban development to a more natural state, and they also offer technical assistance services. This program is a little bit special in that it requires a partnership between a local community group and another entity, either a tribe, a local public agency, a special district, or a joint powers authority, or a certified nonprofit. So the draft guidelines have a list of example projects. It's a lot of things like bank stabilization and revegetation, recontouring channels, removing culverts or storm drains. That's all in the draft guidelines if you want to look at the types of example projects there or the types of eligible projects. For this program, the public comment period closes on July 29th for the draft guidelines and proposal solicitation package. They're also holding 2 public meetings that you can join. They're online via Zoom. One is on July 8th, one is on July 22nd. They're both in the afternoon. And then there's one tribal only meeting on July 15th, also in the afternoon. Registration links are on the program's website. If you have any comments on the draft documents they've released, you can submit them to usrpinfo@water.ca.gov. And then we also have the Water Desalination Grant Program. They're currently preparing their draft guidelines. This program funds grants to local agencies for the planning, design, and construction of projects to desalinate brackish and ocean water for potable water supply. And it also provides grants for pilot, demonstration, and research projects. So this program hasn't released their guidelines yet, but they're holding a webinar prior to the release of their draft guidelines. The webinar is scheduled for June 22nd from 1 to 2 p.m. early afternoon. And there's a QR code here that will take you to the registration link if you're interested in attending that webinar. There's more info about all these programs and other resources on our website. As I mentioned, be on the lookout for other Prop 4 programs. They'll be releasing their guidelines in the future. And there's also a version of this presentation on the CFCC website that I talked about earlier. You can download that version. It has links to all of these DWR resources if you want more information. If you have questions about DWR funding, please email funding@water.ca.gov, or feel free to reach out to me directly or Leslie Pierce. We'd be happy to answer any questions about our funding programs. And if we can't answer them, we can put you in touch with the program directly so that you can get your questions answered. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions today, please feel free to join our breakout room at the end of the funding fair. And I look forward to speaking with you there. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is with the Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank, known as iBank. His name is Richard Nesbitt. If you are here, I hope you are.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great.
Let me share with you
I
real
didn't.
quick.
Okay.
All right. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Now we do. We see your
Okay.
screen.
All right, great. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today to learn about California Infrastructure and Economic Bank, also known as iBank. My name is Richard Nesbitt. I'm a loan officer here in the origination unit. And we're just going to share a little bit about why we feel iBank will be a great financing source for you. This presentation will be available on the CFCC handbook and website. So let me get started here. These are our core programs. First of all, California Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank is a state agency. We're housed in the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, also known as GoBiz. iBank was created in 1994, and it was to provide low-cost funding options to eligible borrowers for a wide range of infrastructure projects. iBank's core focus is creating and preserving jobs, expanding access to underserved communities, and addressing climate. As I said, these are our core projects. The main one we will be discussing with you in the breakout room would be the Infrastructure State Revolving Fund programs. Those are a direct loan program. We also have our small business finance group. The finance group also works directly with finance development corporations, and they provide loan guarantees to small business programs. We also have a new venture capital program. We also have a bond unit, and they issue tax-exempt bonds and, well, tax and taxable bonds for various public and private sector projects. We also have a climate financing department. And currently, right now, the Catalyst program is not open to new financing due to some ongoing federal litigation. And we do believe that should be rectified sometime by the end of this year. We also have a climate tech financing program. This is administered by the Bay Area Air District, who works with program participating lenders, and they can go up to a maximum loan amount of 20 million. And iBank provides the guarantee to the participating lenders, and we can talk more about that in the breakout room if you want. We also have a new high voltage transmission program that will be launched later this year. And some of our overviews. Our ISO bond program and ISO direct loan program, we issue our own bonds, so we will never run out of money. We are AAA rated. We've done over $1 billion in loans, and we also offer matching loans and gap financing. Our ISO loan program is also tax exempt. So in order for a borrower to be eligible, the borrower, the repayment source, project use, benefit, location of the project must be all public. The projects or the borrowers can be anything from a state, local government, commissions, cities, counties, special districts. Our loan amounts will go from a minimum of 1 million up to 65 million per loan. We also have a 15% concentration of our total loan portfolio. So if you're looking to do multiple projects, the total amount that we lend won't be more than 15% of that. We can also do 100% financing. We also work with you if you have grants, SRF funds with you, the borrower's own equity, or if you work with another lender, we can help finance that and do. Our main focus, once we determine the project is eligible, we're looking at cash flow. So we're going to look at 5 years of your historic financials. And the cash flow, we also look at projections. If you have like a Prop 218 in process, we'll look at that. We have 2 types of financing structures. First one is an enterprise fund structure. And then we basically simply take a pledge on system revenues. The second type of structure is a general fund repayment, and that's a lease-back financing. So what we do is we look at if the borrower has any unencumbered assets, we will take that as collateral, such for instance, like fire station, community center, building that the borrower has unencumbered. We can look at that. We also require an executed reimbursement resolution. And what this is this allows you to be reimbursed for any soft or hard costs prior to getting iBank financing. So we do actually have that. If you were to go with the loan, then have that before we actually go to our board. Now, these are just the next 2 slides are just going to be a couple examples of projects we've just recently done. We do a lot of road transportation, airports, bridges. Bulk of our portfolio is water and wastewater projects. The one thing we can't lend is just for soft costs. So there has to be an infrastructure project involved. The project costs can include design, acquisition, planning, construction, and consultant fees. Oops, I'm sorry, just missed the page. Let me go to the next one. Okay. why you want to choose iBank for your financing of your projects? Well, as the screen shows, we are very fast. We have competitive rates. We can go up to 30 years if the useful life of the project warrants it. Again, we can do 100% financing. We we don't have application windows or waiting lists, anything like that. You can apply all year round. And as I said earlier, we do not run out of funds because we do issue our own bonds. Um, we are AAA rated, so our cost of funds are lower and we pass those savings on to our borrowers. Our interest rates are fixed, and again, up to 30 years. But we also offer interest rate subsidies. We have two types. One's an environmental and one's a community. These will be determined once we take the application. But for instance, the environmental, if you have any components of your project that are going to be anything to do with climate mitigation, if it's like a water project, if it's any flood mitigation, that would qualify you for the environmental subsidy. The community is based on the area where your project's going to be located, and we will look at things such as median household income, unemployment rates, and a few other socioeconomic factors. iBank process is very streamlined. For instance, if you have a project that you're needing funds on in the very near future, we can do these usually 4 months to 6 months. Generally, on average, is 6 months. But if you needed one expedited, we can get from approval to funding to you within about 4 months. So we offer technical assistance. You'll be paired with the loan officer throughout the whole process. We're 100% transparent on how we do this. Like I said, our program is very streamlined. We avoid any other complications. So for that, we'd like to talk to you further in breakout rooms when you're ready. We can talk to you specifically about your project. And if you have any questions, I will talk to you then. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that presentation, how you can get funding quick and easy. It's always quick and easy
Yes.
is always great.
Yes.
Our next speaker is from the State Water Resources Control Board, and she will be giving us information on the funding opportunities at the Water Board.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me and can you see my screen?
Yes to both.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ibian Rivera, and I work in the Division of Financial Assistance at the State Water Resources Control Board. Today's presentation is a very brief or high-level introduction to the many grant and loan programs that we offer. To learn more about each of the programs, I encourage you to visit the CFCC handbook, the section on State Water Board, to get a better feel of our programs, or you can join us today during the virtual booth. So the State Water Board has several wastewater funding programs that provide funding for planning and construction projects to restore and maintain compliance with water or waste discharge requests and national pollutant discharge elimination system permits. Grants are available for projects benefiting small and disadvantaged communities. Priority is given for septic to sewer projects. Some of the programs that we offer are the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, CWSRF, and the Water Recycling Funding Program, WRFP. We also have the septic to sewer funds available as well. And we have, throughout the presentation, we have photos from some of the projects that were funded with the various programs listed on that particular slide. The State Water Board has numerous drinking water funding programs that I'll discuss in the next few slides. For long-term solutions, the State Water Board provides funding for drinking water infrastructure projects needed to achieve or maintain compliance with Safe Drinking Water Act requirements. Grants and low-interest loans are available. Priority is given to projects with water systems with failing or at risk or failing equivalent safer status, or consolidation. In addition, we have funding for lead service line inventory and replacement. Programs include the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, DWSRF, Expedited Drinking Water Grant Funding Program, and the Lead Service Line Replacement Funding Program. The State Water Board funds drinking water interim solutions that address urgent drinking water needs. Eligible projects include bottled water, hauled water, well repair, well rehabilitation and replacement, vending machines, point of use devices, emergency interties, or treatment systems. State small water systems and domestic wells that serve disadvantaged communities and low-income households are eligible. Programs include the Cleanup and Abatement Urgent Drinking Water Needs and the Emergency Drinking Water Cleanup and Abatement account. The State Water Board provides funding that benefits daycare facilities, preschools, and K-12 schools. This program funds point of use and point of entry treatment systems, fixture replacement, and the installation of drinking water fountains and the provision of interim drinking water supplies. This program is administered by nonprofit organizations. The program is the Drinking Water for Schools grant program. So again, more information in our handbook. There are several State Water Board funded drinking water funding programs that are administered by counties and nonprofit organizations. These programs provide funds to individuals or households served by domestic wells or state small water systems to address water quality issues. These programs are the Domestic Water Wells and State Smalls Program and the Drinking Water Assistance for Households. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, also known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021, provided the U.S. EPA with $60 billion over 5 years to support water infrastructure, environmental cleanups, and clean air protections. The state of California received $4.3 billion of those federal funds to supplement the state revolving fund. This supplemental funding went towards additional funds for the Clean Water SRF and the Drinking Water SRF programs, lead service line replacement, and addressing emerging contaminants. The Emerging Contaminants Funding Program provides funds towards projects that reduce people's exposure to PFAS and other emerging contaminants through their drinking water. Funding sources for this program include the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, Emerging Contaminant Fund, and the Emerging Contaminants in Small and Disadvantaged Communities Fund. The Technical Assistance Program at the State Water Board is available to support drinking water and wastewater needs. Examples of project types that TA can assist with include funding applications for SRF or urgent drinking water needs, project planning and administration, engineering and environmental services, legal assistance, rate studies, income surveys, capacity development, and emergency response for drinking water only. Priority is given to small disadvantaged communities and in accordance with the drinking water and wastewater funding priorities. Requests are accepted continuously, and assistance will be granted based on capacity and program priorities. Non-point source, the State Water Board has several site cleanup funding programs. There are grants for cleanup of a site Site cleanup funding programs. The State Water Board has several site cleanup funding programs, and there are grants for the cleanup of a site contaminated by leaking petroleum, underground storage tanks, where there's no financially responsible party. In addition, we have grants and loans to assist small business, UST, underground storage tank owners and operators to come into compliance with UST requirements, regulatory requirements. The programs include Orphan Site Cleanup, the SB 445 Site Cleanup Subaccount, SCAP, and the removal, replacement, or upgrading underground storage tanks, RUST. The Non-Point Source Program, also known as NPS, which funds projects to reduce and mitigate the effects of non-point source pollutants such as sediment, pesticides, and nutrients to the waters of the state within priority watersheds. And if you're interested, you can contact your local regional water board for assistance. Okay, resources. Again, I'm pointing you to the CFCC handbook. It's a great resource for all of you. It contains basic information about each of our funding programs, including eligibility, when our applications due, what the priority is. The Division of Financial Assistance website is listed here. We also have an email subscription so you can receive updates about specific programs you may be interested in. At the State Water Board, we have what we call the Financial Assistance Application Submittal Tool that's used by some, not all, of the funding programs at the State Water Board, but you do need an account to access the FAST website. Our website is listed here. We do have a FAST help desk that's staffed Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. And finally, for general inquiries, please call DFA at 916-327-9978. And if you have any questions about any of the funding programs that I briefly covered, please join us at the virtual booth today, or you can reach out again to that phone number. And on behalf of the State Water Board's Division of Financial Assistance, I thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you for that information. The State Water Board has so many different funding programs, so I encourage all, if you see, like she mentioned, it's very brief, to go in there and ask questions about your specific needs. Our next presenter is from the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, and it's going. Oh, I see which one it is because we have two speakers listed. So take it away.
Thank you. Can you see my screen and hear me?
Yes, on both.
Awesome.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Angela Rosayo. I'm an Assistant Adaptation and Resilience Planner with the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation. And I'll be presenting on the Extreme Heat and Community Resilience Program, Round 2. Excuse me. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Atisha, who is the Federal Grant Administrator.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Atisha Singh. I work at the California Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, or LCI, and my title is Federal Grant Administrator. You may know that LCI is the state's comprehensive planning agency. We focus on land use, climate, housing, and we provide technical assistance, tools, data, and state grants. What you may not know is that we also play a role in federal grants as well. We don't award them, but we can help any group that's based in California that's eligible to apply for federal grants find new opportunities, both funding and training opportunities, and navigate the federal grant process. So regardless of where you're at, if you've never applied for a federal grant before, or if you're managing several federal grants right now, please consider me a resource and feel free to email me anytime. I'll also be in the LCI breakout room, so you can join me there. And that's the end of my quick plug. So I'll say thanks and pass the mic back to Angela.
Thanks, Atisha. So in terms of our agenda today, we'll be going into the Extreme Heat Program background, and we'll have an overview of Round 2. And I'll be sharing out resources and how to contact us. So in terms of our Round 2 funding, we have $27.5 million for this round, and it's being sourced from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund and Proposition 4, with the main objective of generating infrastructure for extreme heat. So at the core of Round 2, we have 4 program values. The first one being harm reduction, which is the urgency to reduce immediate heat-related illness and death. Next one is partnership, which is dedicated towards developing working relationships between community-based organizations and local institutions or any eligible applicant. The next one is the belonging value, which is dedicated towards involving community to make sure that it's designed with their voice and their involvement. And finally, the lasting community benefits value, which is dedicated toward making sure that the infrastructure that's constructed lasts far beyond the grant timeline. So in terms of the project types, we have two of them. The first one is early infrastructure. This one focuses on infrastructure planning with a pilot or demonstration infrastructure project. So this requires more planning rather than the advanced infrastructure type, which is the implementation of a full-on master plan. So for example, in the early example, if you're theoretically the city of San Francisco and you have a cool corridors master plan, but don't have the full implementation solutions yet, then you apply for the early. And then if you do have a full cool corridor master plan, again, theoretically, as the city of San Francisco, you would be applying for advanced for the example solutions such as street trees, cool pavements, and shade structures. So in terms of the award amounts, again, with early infrastructure, you would be signing on to a 30-month contract with the project amounts ranging from $750,000 to $1.2 million, with the infrastructure requirements dedicating 25 to 60% just for the demonstration project. And then certain allocations for partnerships, which is again building those relationships between local entities and CBOs. And finally, the belonging aspect, which is dedicated towards community engagement. And again, for the advanced infrastructure, you'd be signing on to a 48-month contract with the project amount ranging from $3 million to $4.5 million, with a 70% minimum of the funds going towards the infrastructure itself. And then again, the required minimum allocations for partnerships and belonging. So in terms of eligible projects, we have two built environmental solutions as well as nature-based solutions. Thankfully, our program is very flexible in terms of solutions. You know, again, based on the needs of your community, you can have a combination of both types, whether that be, you know, again, green surfaces or cool roofs and walls. But this program is again based towards how your community needs whatever infrastructure to improve their community. So yeah, moving on to funding goals, as part of the climate bond, we are required to have 40% towards disadvantaged communities, and as well as 10% for severely disadvantaged communities. In addition to that, we have priority point allocations, and based on how these populations qualify. If they are a California Native American tribe, they are awarded 15 points. If they are an SDAC, then they're awarded 15. Regular DAC, 10 points, and if you're a vulnerable population, you're awarded 12 points. So back to the belonging component, there's a requirement that applicants must apply with a co-applicant. So as listed here, local and regional public entities must apply with either a CBO or Native American tribe. CBOs must apply with a local regional entity and or a Native American tribe. Higher academic institutions must apply with both a CBO and a local institution or Native American tribe, and a coalition must do the same thing with partnerships with a CBO, local entity, or a Native American tribe. And extra emphasis on if you are applying as a Native American tribe, you're not required to have a co-applicant and are exempt from this requirement. Now moving into the application process, starting with pre-application window 1. If you are interested in applying with technical assistance, that's the only opportunity to apply for that. And if you are prepared for applying for our round 2, then you can apply into window 2 to receive feedback and a link to the full application. And once you are in the full application, there'll be a scored narrative section as well as a work plan and budget section. In terms of the timeline, in the coming weeks, we hope to release our finalized guidelines as well as notice of funding availability. And once that happens, at the same time, our pre-application windows will open. And by early fall of this year, the application will close. And then hopefully by early 2027, we'll have our awards announcement. So in terms of resources and how to stay in touch with us, you are invited to either reach out to us on our social media or by email. And then if you would like to keep in touch with us or stay up to date, you can also register with our newsletter. And yeah, I'll also be in the breakout room afterwards for any other questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate that as well as everyone else I'm sure here today. Our next speaker is from the Strategic Growth Council.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time today. Today, I'll be talking about the California Strategic Growth Council. A little bit about us. We're a 10-member council comprised of 7 state cabinet agencies and 3 publicly appointed members. And our role is to coordinate and work collaboratively across those state agencies, but also with public agencies across the state, communities, and partners to achieve sustainability, equity, economic prosperity, and quality of life for all Californians. And since 2008, we have invested over $5 billion in California's most underserved communities. We are most known and we do our work through a number of grant programs and policy initiatives that prioritize building capacity of our communities, providing technical assistance, and supporting you all in building climate and community resiliency. Today in my presentation, I'm going to walk through a lot of grant programs, so I will be moving quickly. I'll first touch on grant programs that are open now, ones that recently closed but that you should keep an eye on, and some upcoming opportunities. I do want to take this time to just quickly pause and say that on June 24th at 1 p.m., we will be having a webinar on all of the grant programs that SGC has open, including the program that Angelo and Atisha just presented on, Extreme Heat. So there's over $300 million in open and available funding right now that you can tune into and learn more and ask questions about. So the best way to find information about that webinar, there's one for community representatives and one specifically for tribes, is to visit our website, which is sgc.ca.gov. So with that, let's jump into it. First, I'm going to go through some programs that we have for our tribal communities. These 2 available funding opportunities are all about building capacity for tribal communities to address affordable housing development. So on the left, you'll see the Tribal Capacity Building Program. We have about $5 million available. This is live right now. And the grant awards range from $300,000 to $420,000. This grant is specifically for building the capacity of your organization, hiring, training, and it's a best fit if you're really in the early stages of planning for housing. Some of the example activities included in this grant opportunity are things like grant writing, operations, budget management, peer learning, and partnership building. And those applications are again live and open until August. I do want to note that this program is exclusively for California Native American tribes and tribal entities, both federally recognized and non-federally recognized. On the right-hand side, the Tribal Housing Pre-Development Fund awards up to $3 million per application. And it's a best fit for organizations interested in building housing, but need additional research. You need time and dollars to prepare plans, hire additional staff, acquire land, build infrastructure, or other activities really necessary to be able to build affordable housing and apply for other affordable housing programs across the state. So eligible activities for this include things like market analysis, site acquisition, architectural and engineering costs, along with others. So again, this grant is open as well. There will be 2 award announcements. Again, this is for California Native American tribes, federally and non-federally recognized, as well as tribally designated housing entities. I'm going to tab to the next screen, which shows you a good summary of the 2 programs I just went over. So I'm going to pause here quickly so you get a quick glance of additional eligible activities before we move on. Okay, so both programs are live right now. We are in May, which is in the bottom middle of the screen. And we plan to make the recommended award announcements in October. So perfect opportunity to apply for these funds if you're a tribal community. The next program is the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation, or SALC program. SALT really protects agricultural lands to support infill and compact development and enables enduring conservation of working lands, advances equity and opportunity for all regions across California, and reduces greenhouse gas emissions. And there are several different eligible project types. First, there's acquisitions to permanently protect important agricultural land. There are planning grants that support the development of policies and economic development strategies to get to that protection of agricultural land. And then there's capacity grants, again, to expand your organizational capacity to develop those project applications. This program is also eligible for applications right now, but only for 2 of the 3 planning types I just mentioned. So acquisition applications and planning applications are open and due this June. Next is the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities, or ASIC, or AHSC, depending on where you live in the state. This program did just close, but I think it's helpful to keep your eyes and ears open as there's some significant changes coming down the pipe potentially for this program. AHSC really, at its core, reduces greenhouse gas emissions. It's a statewide initiative that uses greenhouse gas reduction fund dollars, or cap and invest dollars, to strengthen the economy, improve public health. It combines affordable housing with other land use strategies and sustainable community strategies. So think of things like public transit, active transportation, urban greening. Here's an example of what a comprehensive project looks like. So it's not only about building affordable housing, but making a really livable neighborhood for our communities. So we just closed applications for round 10 in the governor's January budget proposal. There are changes to this program that have been proposed, which will be including splitting the program. And so there's a modernization that's potentially coming based on the budget. So I would keep and sign up for notifications on SGC's website, so that way you're informed about future iterations of this program. Next is our factory-built housing regional pilot program. There are 2 grant types. Again, we just closed applications for this, but want to elevate it for you because we had really, really high demand and interest in this. And so the program aims to accelerate the adoption of factory-built housing, really solutions that are efficient, sustainable, and adaptable to our community's needs. And the program is now investing in partnerships, flexible implementation strategies, and really empowering you as communities to scale housing solutions, really align with your local goals and statewide priorities. So this is round 3 of this program. There's been a few iterations of it. And we have really adapted it to consider you as communities and develop these kind of regional strategies to get more factory-built housing. So things like market analysis, finance tools, pre-approved factory-built housing designs are all eligible under this program. We anticipate making awards mid to late 2026. Again, we saw significant interest. So again, I would encourage you to sign up for notifications for this program, so that way you're informed for future iterations, just like the Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities program. Okay, thanks for bearing with me as I speed through these. Finally, I do want to talk about 2 programs that just launched on Friday. So funding is live. Transformative Climate Communities, or TCC, and Community Resilience Centers, or CRC. So TCC on the left, is in round 6. So this program's been around for a while. And it really funds community-led development and infrastructure activities that you as community with your partners decide how best to reduce emissions. We have almost $100 million in available funding. And CRC on the right-hand side of the screen, it really funds the planning, development, and construction of neighborhood-level community resilience centers. And this is in round 2, and we have a little over $50 million in funding. So both of these programs have went under a fair amount of updates since their last iterations. They're now being funded under Proposition 4, which Gabe talked about earlier in our presentations. So again, I really do encourage you to sign up for updates on our website and sign up to participate in the June 24th webinar at 1 p.m. And that you can find by going to our website, which is sgc.ca.gov. Thank you.
Oh, that was it. Okay. So you should send the thank you slide. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that information. We have our last speaker is Dustin Rollins. He's from the Rural Community Assistance Corporation. And after he speaks, we will open up the breakout room so you can go ask all your fabulous questions to all the speakers and have that opportunity to find out more information about their programs.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. I just making sure everyone can see. I know everyone asks this, but before I get started, we
It's
good?
it's always a good question to ask. Yes, we hear you and see your presentation.
Perfect. Thank you. So my name is Dustin Rollins. I'm a senior loan officer with RCAC, and I cover the southern half of California and Hawaii. But good to meet you, and I've learned a lot with you guys today, so thank you. My goal is to provide information on our technical assistance and our environmental infrastructure loan program that we have today. So RCAC stands for Rural Community Assistance Corporation, and we're a nonprofit that oversees 13 Western states in the Pacific Islands. We serve indigenous and rural communities throughout those 13 states with technical and financial assistance and advocacy. Some of our programs include what's shown here, and RCAC has helped rural communities access millions of dollars in grants and loans and trained thousands of individuals through customized on-site technical assistance and workshops. We understand that infrastructure development can be an extensive project and present many challenges that rural communities may not have the capacity to take on. Our technical assistance can help maneuver around many of the programs you have heard about today. I'll highlight a few of the areas where technical assistance may be available to help your community. So here are all the different technical assistant types, and I'll go through each of them a little bit. And we have consultants that can help you apply directly on the FAAST site or USDA RD apply. So RCAC provides rate studies to water and wastewater utilities to promote utility sustainability, rate stability and fairness to ratepayers. Financial analysis assesses real operating costs and presents alternative rate structures for board consideration and adoption. Policy development helps develop financial, managerial, or operational processes, emergency response plans, vulnerability assessments, and operation plans. Regional collaboration among rural communities is an innovative way to help water and or wastewater systems maintain compliance, improve aging infrastructure, and become financially sustainable over time. Our local presence allows us to develop partnerships with communities to identify needs, set goals, and help communities select best options to meet these goals. We also provide on-site training where we work with operators and administrators to ensure delivery of safe drinking water. We conduct median household income surveys, which determine eligibility. That's a big one for our finance side is the median household income surveys for us. And so going into this next slide, the Environmental Infrastructure Loan Program. RCAC provides loans for these, and this next part will go through kind of the conditions that we need. So with these water, wastewater, and solid projects, they need to be in communities with populations less than 50,000. and the system must primarily serve low-income communities. And low income is based on that median household income. The borrower eligibility must be nonprofit organizations, government entities, federal or state recognized tribal entities. If you have questions about eligibility, feel free to contact the loan officer listed at the end of this presentation. So I like to give a couple examples so people can know just kind of how some of the loans that we've done in the past are. And so let's say that utility district got a grant with the California State Water Resource Control Board of a total of 10.66 million grant funding for improvements to expand and update the treatment plant. In large construction projects, the general contractor typically has 30-day payment terms, but it could take the funder, that SWRCB, that grant funding, 60 to 90 days to review the reimbursement request. In these cases, RCAC can provide a bridge loan or a revolving line of credit to pay the general contractor within 30 days, while the utility district awaits grant reimbursement. There are other common grantors, such as the Department of Water Resources, California Energy Commission, American Rescue Plan Act, to name a few. And we have utilized this loan structure to bridge other projects such as solar installation, park and community facility construction. In the second example, a water district needed to expand their existing storage capacity. The cost of the tank installation and connection was $402,000. RCAC provided a 6-month interest-only period for the district to complete the connection, followed by a 9.5-year repayment. And so these are a couple of the examples that we've seen, and many more. If you guys have, every situation is different, and sometimes it's just best to call with your situation and let us know. See. But if you have any questions, we'd like you to refer to the CFCC handbook provided in your materials for loan terms. You can also access the application on our website. Please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. Shelly is awesome as well if you're in Northern California. And I'll be in the breakout room to answer any questions. So thank you guys. Thanks for letting us present.
Thank you for presenting. Now, at this time, I am going to open up the breakout room. So let me demonstrate how it looks. Let me share my screen. Once I open up the breakout rooms, there's going to be 4 buttons at the bottom of your page for those who are not familiar with Zoom. If you don't have those 4 buttons, there's going to be a more button where you can hit the more button, and the breakout room option is going to be there. And once you get in there, you can join in. You have the privilege of going in and out as you please. You do not have to, you're not assigned, so you can in and out. And we are going to be around until at least noon, if not later, if more people are trying to get and see all the agencies, because there are 11 agencies today. So you might not get to see all of them, and I would hate for you to miss out an opportunity to speak with the representative. But we will be here until 12:15. So now all the breakout rooms are open, and you can go in and out as you please. Thank you so very much for attending today's funding fair. As mentioned earlier, all this information is available on our website and will be sent to all those who attended today via email early next week. Thank you.